All right, I got a cross versus battle for y'all tonight, and it's Kenshin Himura from Rurouni Kenshin versus Goemon Ishikawa the 13th from Lupin the Third. The first scenario will be taking place in Kenshin's world at Kamiya Kashin Ryu Dojo, and then at the second scenario will be taking place in Goemon's world. Current day Japan, I guess. We'll say modern Japan. It could be anywhere in that world, because Lupin the Third, he's always traveling with Lupin, and he's always, he's everywhere. Trying to like sneak artifacts and money and all kinds of things. But this is a sword fight between these two swordsmen. Strength in the first scenario that goes to Kenshin Himura. He was trained in the Hiten Mitsurugi. Goemon was trained too, but I've seen a lot of, Kenshin Himura. And I've seen, Goemon too. But strength, physical strength goes to Kenshin. Speed goes to Kenshin Himura as well. Like, that's the thing about Hiten Mitsurugi. It's fast. It's a fast sword art. But durability-wise, I give it to Goemon. I think he can take, damage. Relatively well compared to, Kenshin. That's why he is so fast. Because, like, if he takes, damage, he kind of gets hurt, right? He's a little bit fragile. But Kenshin Himura can, he's in endurance, right? He has endurance. He can stay in the fight long if he has to. Intelligence-wise, goes to Kenshin Himura. He'll figure out what, Goemon's, sword fighting art is, like the kind of sword skills he uses, and then he'll be able to pick them apart from there. And that's his experience, too. It goes to Kenshin Himura. During the Bakumatsu era, he cut down a lot of men. And Goemon has cut down people, too. Being a guy, he's a sword for hire, right? So he's done that, too. But Himura Kenshin, even though he don't do it anymore, he's still, capable of, like, using his Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu. Those techniques, they're still the same. Same movements and all that shit, right? Close skills go to Kenshin Himura. If he has to get up close, he can, get up close and really, fuck shit up, right? Now, even range skills, right? He could throw the scabbard and hit him in the face and then run up on him and hit him really hard with his Sakabata, right? That's shit that Kenshin does. Can do. Riku goes to Goemon. I'm just giving it to him because he grows up in the modern era and, medicine's improved since then. Hacks, Kenshin Himura, he's just basically a better swordsman. Hiten Mitsurugi Ryu, Amakakuro Ryo no Hirameki. He pulls that out. Goemon's not, he's going to the hospital after that. Environment in the first scenario obviously goes to Kenshin, and Kenshin wins that mid difficulty. Second scenario, in Goemon's world in modern day Japan, we got strength going to Himura Kenshin, speed going to Himura Kenshin, durability going to Goemon Ishikawa the 13th. Endurance going to Himura Kenshin. Intelligence going to Kenshin Himura. And experience also going to Kenshin Himura. Close skills, Kenshin. Range skills, Kenshin. Riku Goemon Ishikawa the 13th. Hacks, Kenshin. And then environment goes to Goemon, since it's in the modern era. He knows about the modern era better than Kenshin does. Cars and skyscrapers and shit that wasn't around in his time. But overall, Kenshin, has better, skills than he does. He's catching swords mid-fight, hitting them with the, butt end of the sword. Um, he's throwing his scabbard. He's fighting a guy with a snake sword in his series with his scabbard. No sword or anything, right? They're like almost knocking his ass out, almost. Goemon has cut a bullet in half. In that movie, Goemon Blood Spray. This is the movie you gotta watch. Lupin the Third, Goemon's Blood Spray. Watch that movie and you see some shit from Goemon, right? You see him, lock in on some hard work, and dedication to the sword, and he's, um, doing his thing so he could beat this redneck, right? Who has 2 axes and he's really good at using the axes. It's a really good one. You gotta watch it. But he's, cut bullets in half, and that's something that Kenshin's never done. Like I've seen, Kenshin, and I watched both the '96 version and the 2023, remake, and he's never done that. But he's done a lot more like things, and he's, anything that Goemon can do, I think Kenshin can do, and even Kenshin could probably cut a bullet in half. It's just in his time period, they weren't using guns like that, not to that extent. So overall, Kenshin Imura wins mid difficulty against Goemon Ishikawa 13th. Lupin fans, if you're here, I know how good Lupin is. It's in my top 30. But Kenshin Imura, he does beat that guy. But be cool in the corner. And let me know what you think about this fight in the comments.